Hello, everyone. It's me, your friend Moonhorse. You already knew that. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, what's going on? This is a story. I know words. I'm a little out of it. I had to read some really crazy shit. It's been a long night. This is a story from our friend River, who I love so very much. This is What You Say is Just as Important as What You Do. It's a heavy title. Let's get into it. Hello, beauties. The happiest of holidays and New Year's to you, Moon. To Sango as well. Oh, it's a little after New Year's, but happy holidays and happy New Year's to you too. And to all of you. I don't speak only for myself when I say that you two are the greatest gifts to so many people. Oh, stop. You're important and you're loved, and you have done more than you know for all of us. Very quickly, before I tell the story, I want to show you how to say something in Hebrew, as I'm still not great at Hebrew, which I promise I've been working on. I hope that someone will correct me if I'm doing it wrong. Well, I'm not going to try to say it, because I know I'm going to say it wrong. You guys already know that I can't read and say certain things, as obviously expressed by the many, many, many times I pronounce anime titles and video games wrong. So, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it very, very much. Now, as for the story, high school started, for me, at grade 9. Grades 6 through 8 were spent at a Catholic middle school down the street from a public one, where the buses were shared. My parents thought it was best to send me to a Catholic middle school, and I'll never forget that people spoke to me as if I, still a child, had a say in the matter. This affected my high school experience academically. My best friend since 3rd grade, the same person that Base wanted me to talk to on his behalf, was there because my friends from middle school and I had grown apart. Her friends very quickly became mine. One of them was Leia, with whom I became very close. From what she had told me, Lei, I read that wrong, is someone who felt she grew up and lived in the shadows of others. I thought of her as kind and genuinely appreciated her as my friend. She was silly and she made me laugh as well. Thinking retrospectively, she didn't know me as well as she could have in the time we spent together. You and Sango have gotten to know me better in 1 year than she had in 4. For many reasons, I'd be worried about her mental and emotional well-being. As an example, she started dating someone, gone through a breakup, and then said they did something, and then be back with them as though nothing had ever happened. When approached about this, she'd say one of two things. A, they had never done what she previously said, or B, that she didn't want to be single due to insecurities that she was feeling. She'd talk about how she felt that people around her were more attractive than her, in form and in fashion sometimes, and I've always thought of her as a lovely person in that regard, but it didn't feel like it meant much to her to hear that, though I and others would always tell her. There was a conversation when she told me that I had always had guys falling all over me, that she wanted to have that for herself. I wasn't out to hear her at that point, and she wouldn't hear that I didn't like it or want it. It was exhausting. That I just had enough to deal with it. Funny enough, some of the guys that she talked about were gay and or just trying to protect me from the creeps. In addition to all this, when I would plan outings or get-togethers, Leigh would sometimes insist that my best friend wouldn't come because she was coming as well. She didn't express that directly to my best friend, and I had to be the mediator. I should have recognized these as red flags and tried to address them more directly, and while I had thought of that, I thought it would make things worse, and it really just wasn't my place. Both Leigh and I were in choir together for a couple of years, and in that time, our director scheduled a trip to New York City by bus. My dad signed on to chaperone this trip because he'd been wanting to take me to New York City himself. I was really grateful for this. It's important to note here that it's best to keep track of everyone. We're sorted into 4-person groups with 1 chaperone. We would travel the city together, during our free time, room together, and it was a good system. But through the course of the trip, each of the 3 people I was rooming with did something to exasperate me. One forgot her phone charger and wanted all of our free time to be focused on getting her one or finding a cheap one for her to buy. Was it to call her family or to assure them that she was alright? No, it was because her boyfriend would get upset with her for not texting back right away. I felt like any free time we had was consumed by her boyfriend. He sounds lovely. 2. Another outed me, but admittedly she didn't actually know my sexuality. No one took her seriously when she tried to spread this around. She did this for 2 reasons. The first being that I dared to sit next to someone other than our friends during dinner one night, and that I had not been able to spend as much time with through the course of the trip. And the second reason was that her crush admitted that he had a thing for me. As our dear friend of ours, yours and mine, Moon and Sango, says, to me, I unfortunately attract a hell of a lot of men for someone who is not attracted to men. 3. And this was Lay. My dad decided to give me a few gifts while on this trip. I collect keychains when I travel that say something about where I've been, and he's always loved and supported this little hobby of mine, so he bought me some very lovely ones. I used to do that when I was little too. I should show you my little collection sometimes. The next gift was a shirt from a performance of Phantom of the Opera, something that is definitely worth seeing as a stage production. Anyway, Lay wanted me to buy her a couple of things as well, things that were far too expensive for me personally. I told her this, but I said that I'd be willing to get her another present if she could show me something else that she liked. I pointed out some adorable plush figures that had a funny face sewn onto them, and even tried to imitate one of them. The next thing she said made my stomach drop. I know your dad just gives you money. Her voice sounded threatening, and she didn't sound like the same person I'd been friends with, or maybe she had and I just didn't notice. Needless to say, my friends who live in New York now have been helping me make up for this. It wasn't a total bust of a trip, and I'm glad I went out, but I could have done a lot better without all of this nonsense. Fast forward, and I'm in college. I made new friends, yes, but the college I chose prides itself on rigorous courses compared to larger universities. While I had personal things going on, I was spending as much time as I could studying. While getting ready to meet up with Mary, if you remember, some time after class, I received a long tirade from Leia about how I had not spoken to her since starting college, how I was a terrible friend to her, and how I supposedly knew that she had lately plunged into a deep depression, but I didn't and wouldn't care. At the time, my profile on social media was an old picture my parents took of me and my best friend of one of my best friend's birthday parties. It's a cute picture, and it's easy to tell that we were much younger in it. Oh, but she wouldn't hear that. In her eyes, I didn't care about her and I preferred my best friend over her. To add a little sarcasm, it's not like I have a history with my best friend or that our families have known each other since our ages were single digits, and I hold that friendship very dear. Seriously, though, I hadn't heard from Lay either. Not a single word. She hadn't tried to initiate conversation with me either. But it was because of the depression that I didn't actually know about. I told her that I didn't know, to which she dismissed as bullshit. She was looking at my life through the lens of social media and seeing all these new people, and basically, that was it. I felt horrible for her because depression is a monster, and while I wanted to do something for her, her reasoning was set, and there was nothing left but to cut her out of my life. She had once done the same to the best friend of mine, with whom I compared notes. We concluded that there was nothing that we could do that would not make things worse. A few years later, Leigh apologized to me, saying that she had been unfair and that what she did was just projection. Well, I forgave her, but I made it clear that I didn't know if I could really trust her, and that she'd have to earn that trust back. We shared a few conversations here and there, nothing really substantial, and I figured that we'd come to an agreement of sorts. Eventually, I moved to where I live now, far, far away from my hometown, to start a new life and a new occupation in a larger city where I still feel more at home. Leigh had an engagement ceremony in our hometown, and she knew I couldn't fly back for it, so I had to decline the invitation. Later, I saw something that really concerned me. I saw Leigh make an incredibly transphobic post citing crimes that have been committed by individuals who happen to be trans as evidence that trans people are criminals. She even said verbatim that she didn't care if what she said made her sound like a TERF. The truth is that anyone, regardless of sexual orientation, gender, race, etc., is capable of committing crimes. In every cultural group, there will be people who are criminals. However, this does not and will not mean that every member of this group is a criminal. So, to make claims as though they are is extremely harmful. A person who is trans, by definition, someone whose gender identity does not match how they were born. Gatekeepers and the TERFs can take several seats and stop bothering and hurting people who are just trying to live their lives. I reached out to Lei regarding her post and saying that I was really disappointed upon seeing this, and that while I am proud of her for her positive growth that she has made and the actions that she's taken to better her mental and emotional health, I know that she's better than this, that we should talk about this. A friend of mine who I love to pieces, happens to be trans, offered to present for this conversation as well, because Lei had been someone I care about, and I would never want to watch her slip into this space and alienate people like this. A conversation would never happen, as Lei slipped even further back than what I was prepared to see. She said that the first time I reached out to her was because she said something she didn't agree with, and if that was my issue with the post. She said that I didn't care about her, that I only was ever her friend when it was convenient for me, that I was never her genuine friend to begin with, that of course I refused to go to her engagement ceremony as if I didn't have to fly over several states for one day and would have missed graduate school and work-related commitments that I needed to make in order to get on with my life. And again, went back to how I never initiated conversation with her. At that point, I was done. There was nothing that I could do for Lei, who didn't really know what it took to earn my trust back and didn't seem to want to know. I'm so incredibly lucky to be surrounded each day by genuine people who care about my well-being as much as I care about theirs. What gets to me fairly often is that I've seen horrible things said and done by people who, otherwise, could be such wonderful people. Lei at her best was beautiful, kind, and loving. The words that she said threw her best qualities to the wayside, and there was no love in any of that. I know she can be better, and I hope that things have gotten better for her. But more than anything, I hope she's retracted these terrible attitudes she's adopted. If she's going to invalidate valid concerns of people just because their circumstances are different from hers, I can't be around her. If you're listening or reading or any kind of support system, know that you will always have one no matter what, and please treat those in your support system with care. I love you all so very much, and thank you for everything. Do take care. Okay. Let's go over 2 things with your friend Moonhorse. This attitude that she has. This whole thing about you don't care about me unless you only want something, but then does exactly that. Oh, I am so very well acquainted with that. There are people whose names I won't mention because, well, you guys really wouldn't know who they are anyway. But secondly, let's just keep it private for privacy's sake. Not for any protective reason, just because I don't like to talk about them. There are people I have known who do exactly that. The multitudes of you don't ever talk to me, you only talk to me when you want something, and then quite literally will send me messages about, well, can you go get this? Well, can you do this? Well, can you fix that? Or can you come over and do this? Or can you go over there and do that? You haven't spoken to me in 6 months, and the first thing you said was that I should give you money and bring you somewhere. Why the hell would I do that? A lot of these people seem to, not so much in our friend River's case, but in my case, it was a lot of people who clung on because I was severely depressed. When you don't value yourself, you tend to let whoever's opinion just define you, even if those opinions are extremely negative and horrible. I was in an incredibly dark place when all this stuff started and started to pull me out of it. So I am still, at this time, cutting ties with people who are just incredibly toxic and do not care. I am still pulling away from people who say, you know, oh, I care about everything that's happening and I want to be your friend, but then don't say a word to you in like a 6-month period, even though you repeatedly reach out to them to try and find out what's going on. And I understand that everyone's busy and adults have busy lives, but you couldn't reply to one message? You couldn't say hello one time? These things are very suspect, and they tend to make me want to lean in a direction of you don't really care unless it's something that you can have done for you. There are people like that, sadly, and there are far more than anyone is willing to admit. So yes, River, I know this pain all too well, and for any of you who are going through this, or have been through this, I'm sure those who have been through this will agree with this statement. If you are dealing with someone, or someones, or whatever, who only speak to you when they want something, who only talk to you when it benefits themselves, who only have any kind of outreach for their own pride or their own kind of betterment, basically to just use you, you need to know two things. One, they do not view you as a person. They view you as a utility, as a source, as a fucking tool. You have as little meaning to them as a fucking hammer. And two, you do not need to tolerate that. You are in no way, shape, or form responsible for someone else's mental health. You are not responsible for their well-being. You can choose to help people when they do these things. But at the end of the day, their health, their well-being, and all of these things falls back on the individual. I appreciate all of the support that I get from everyone, but if I'm not willing to fix myself, no amount of support in the world would ever change anything. And you know exactly what I mean. Do not suffer simply because these people refuse to change. You are 1,000,000 times better than that, and you deserve 1,000,000 times more. And again, to back this up, if you need proof that you are worth all these things, I'd like to remind you, I am a talking unicorn from the internet, and if I say you're worth $1,000,000, you better fucking believe you are. I'm magic. It's a rule. I have more power than the Pope, just not as many people who believe it. Now, let's get on to that other little thorn in my side. A little thorn in the shape of a T. Oh, the TERFs. A lot of people make a lot of strange assumptions when it comes to people, you know. There are a lot of people I know who do the things that I do, who talk about things and read stories and have opinions. Have opinions? Everybody has opinions. I don't know why the fuck I said that. Anyway, who basically express their opinions. That's what I'm looking for. Who have many, many different opinions when it comes to things like feminism and women's rights and all these other things. I'm not going to get into the very specific debates about feminism. This isn't here for me to go over the fine details of what is a feminist. I'm not going to fucking do that shit. However, I will tell you about my least favorite group that just won't seem to go the fuck away. TERFs, for those of you who don't know, are trans exclusionatory radical feminists, aka fucking assholes. These are the people who insist multiple times that the only reason transgender women exist is because men want to invade women's space and invalidate women's power, as if every woman is a goddamn AA battery. No, they will not suck the power out of you. You are not the Energizer Bunny. Sit the fuck down, Tiffany. No one is listening to your bullshit. I am fucking sick of these people. I don't give a fuck if it makes a lot of people angry. Invalidating someone's life just because you don't like their decisions makes you an asshole. That is a fucking asshole thing. They want to change who they are to better feel like who they are. That is not a crime, it is not hurting anyone, and it is not causing any problems. There's nothing wrong with that. And they deserve respect and validation. Because they are fucking people. I'm not going to say that you have to respect these people because it's like they're magical or something. No, they're fucking people. If you can't show the basic, decent human respect for another person, what the fuck is wrong with you? How do you survive day to day? I really need to know that. These are the same people who very much supported all these things about bathroom bills because, oh, you know, the trans people will go into the other gender bathroom and that's how they'll harass and molest your children. It's like, first off, take that fucking gay fright bullshit and get the fuck out of my house with that. Nobody thinks anyone in the LGBT community is a fucking pedophile. That shit comes from the goddamn McCarthy era, and nobody wants to hear your fucking bullshit about it, Bethany, so you can shut the fuck up. Secondly, nobody in a public restroom is thinking that. Everyone, despite your age, race, gender, or sexual orientation, or anything, is always thinking the same thing when you go into a public bathroom. We're all thinking, oh god, if I didn't have to go so bad, I wouldn't be in here. Why am I in here? I hate every second of this. No one likes public bathrooms. It doesn't matter where they are. No one likes them. We only slightly tolerate hotel bathrooms because they're in a private room, But a public bathroom is literally sitting next to a stranger and taking a shit. Nobody wants to do that. I promise you. The only thing that comes from anyone going into a public bathroom is the ability to see how fast you can get the fuck out of there. You just want to go. You get out real fast. And the whole time, the only thing you can think is, I probably have some kind of disease now. Public bathrooms are disgusting. Nobody likes them. And yes, I know people who work in different industries clean them very well. And they probably are very clean. Doesn't matter. That's still how we feel. So no, there is not a transgender cabal out to molest your children and pervert your American lifestyle, Bethany. Fuck off with that. I don't fucking care. And you know, if that makes me an enemy to some of these people, you hate people simply for being who they are. I'm proud to be your enemy, you fucking bigot. I got really angry at the end of this one. I've been really angry over the past, too. I actually read something really horrible before I read this, too. But I really want to thank River for bringing this up and bringing this out. Because it's not just anger. It's not just me being pissed off. It is righteous. It is fucking necessary. I try not to go too heavy on a lot of these podcasty things and all the bits where I kind of share my own thoughts, but sometimes, man, sometimes you just gotta. Sometimes you really just gotta fucking lay into some shit. And this shit really comes in there. If it isn't really fucking clear, and it should be really fucking clear, I don't like TERFs. I don't like Nazis. I don't like pedophiles. I don't like fucking assholes. It's kind of a thing. Moonhorse has a lot of opinions, and not all of them are good. Sorry about that. But I do have one opinion, which I think you might agree with, and that is that I love you all. You're all wonderful, wonderful people, and I love you so very much. And I'm not just saying that because I want you to like, comment, and subscribe, but, you know, you could do that too. I'll be your best friend. Also, I have a merch store if you'd like to buy shirts with my picture on them. Actually, I didn't draw them. A bunch of really awesome artists did that. You really should just kind of check that out. They're cool. I'm just saying. And I have a Patreon. There are different goals on the Patreon, and you might notice at the end of some of these videos there are names attached to them. That's a Patreon goal. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I know, I'm really fucking terrible at this. But I do love you all. That's free, much like the rest of these videos, because I really don't want to fucking do the whole, you know, YouTube sponsor thing. It makes me feel gross. Like I'm in a public bathroom. There you go. Circles all the way back around. Just like that. Totally planned it. I didn't. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!